Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with StraightSmile Solutions, StraightSmileSolutions.com. And about once a week, one of my doctors comes to me and says they're struggling with their buttons coming off on their Invisalign cases. And it doesn't just have to be Invisalign. There's a few other aligner companies that do have precision cuts and buttons. And of course, the first question they ask is, can I just go back to doing slots? And if you want to know more why I don't like slots and why I do like buttons, I do have a lot of content around that. I'm not going to really go over that right now because I've made a ton of content around it already. You can search slots versus buttons in my channel. If you don't know how to search for content within a channel, shoot me an email at info@straightsmilesolutions.com or shoot me a website message at straightsmilesolutions.com. And I will be glad to hand deliver you those videos. Anyways, so I still want you using buttons and not slots. So we need to figure out why the breakage is happening. And it's not that hard to figure it out. You have to put your detective cap on. And once you figure it out, you will be money and gravy and it's all going to be good. But don't just give up, because that just means you're giving up, and you shouldn't be giving up, right? So let's find out first why the breakage happened, okay? So a lot of times you're like, oh, I want to change the treatment plan, or I just don't want treatment plans with any type of elastics. But wait, you can't do that, because if you're going to take hard cases, I'm saying hard cases that have AP changes or need bite corrections, it is below standard of care to just show the patient the sloppy, easy treatment plan. That is below standard of care. As a matter of fact, you can't even necessarily bill that as a comprehensive case, because that is now a limited case potentially, depending on what it looks like, which could be insurance issues. And I'm not going to go into the whole insurance fraud thing, but you're borderline there. Also, remember, anytime you do a case, you need to explain the risks, the benefits, and the alternatives to the patient. Key being alternatives. You can't just show them what you want to do. You have to show them all the options. And again, I have tons of videos about the risks of doing this and why you can't do this. So since I have other videos on it, I'm not going to go into this right now. If you want me to send you more about this, the liability, all that kind of stuff, insurance stuff, you need to shoot me an email, info@straightsmilesolutions.com, or send me a website message, or just search within my YouTube channel, real easy, for compromise versus, it's probably under compromised cases or buttons. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff. It depends on which way you want to go. Okay, so first question I asked the doctor when they tell me they're having chronic button breakage is, when did the breakage happen? And you should have a quick answer for this for every single patient. If you don't, well, then you got to put your detective hat on. When did the breakage happen? So this is where whenever you put buttons on a patient, same thing with brackets, you tell them, we warranty breakage, up to 3 buttons, brackets, or whatever. And you really may even want to put this in writing. It's up to you, or you can just verbally say it. If it becomes a problem, then you can start putting it in writing. Any breakage that happens within the first 24, or you can say 48, but 24 is fine. 24 hours is covered by us. That is our mistake. Apologies. Give us a buzz within 24 hours. We'll fix it. No problem, at your convenience, at no charge. Just say that. Now, that being said, if they call you in 72 hours or 1 week, that's not 24 hours. So they have to call you immediately, in order to activate that. So, they might call you a week later and maybe it happened within 24 hours, but the way it goes to me, unless you called me within 24 hours, it's not 24 hours. You get what I mean? So you have to let the patient know that. So anything that happens within 24 hours after bonding is the fault of the doctor and the team. It's not the fault of the patient, never, ever, okay? So this is where there's a lot of things that could be going wrong. It could be your isolation. It could be your glue. Your glue could be expired. Anyways, I've got a whole video all about this. Ask us for it, and I will send it to you, because you need to do some major team training and or throw out all your stuff and get new ones, or both. I've even had it, and this goes with brackets as well, where if it's becoming a chronic problem, especially if it never was a chronic problem, we got to see what variables are new. I'll go back and find out what team member it's happening most frequently with. If it's one particular team member, then we have to have your best team member train that team member up. That means for a little while, we're gonna have to slow down and have them partner up and double up and watch what they're doing. It's a little embarrassing, I understand, but we got to fix the problem, right? All right. So let's focus on this, because this is probably more common, maybe not. And this gets a little more complicated. If it happens more than one day after the bonding, could be the fault of the patient, could be the fault of the team and the doctor, could be both. But this is the way I usually tell my doctors to manage it. First of all, if it happens, tell the patient to come in. Also, the patient needs to save the button or bracket. This is really, really, really important. First of all, they cost money. Second of all, always tell your patients to save it. It's very, very rare that it falls off and disappears, you know? Patients just think, oh, I don't need it, and they throw it away. But there's a lot we can learn from that button, plus we can reuse it. So they need to bring it in a Ziploc. Next thing I'm gonna do, once you get that, is we're going to look at where the residual glue is. Is it on the bracket or is it on the tooth? It's rarely both. It's usually one or the other, okay? And that tells me a lot, bracket or tooth, right? If it is on the bracket or the button, okay, and it's not on the tooth, guess whose fault it is? It's yours, doctor and team, okay? Again, this is the same thing as this, same thing, okay? It's you guys, it's your glue, it's your process, it's your isolation. I don't know what it is. You didn't prep the tooth. You prepped the tooth with fluoride instead of, or the patient had mouthwash before. I don't know. You need to, I usually use pumice, unflavored pumice, just lab pumice, or they sell pumice in Profi cups and pumice it, or you could just use, you know, a 2x4 or, you know, a 2x2 and just wipe all the plaque off. But that's your fault, okay? If it happens that the adhesive is still on the tooth and not on the button, it could be the fault of the patient or it could be the fault of the doctor, and this is where it gets a little more complicated. Next thing I do is a lot of questions, okay? First thing I'd recommend, if it keeps happening, if it happens the first time, don't do this. But if it happens more than once, patient gets to keep a diet journal. Yay! So I'm still not gonna charge them because we don't know whose fault it is yet, right? Even if it's been a few, but patient gets to keep a diet journal, and I expect to see a 1 to 2 week diet journal coming in. They might want to keep it on their phone. They can print it out. I want a copy of it. Better if they can actually, if you keep like little notebook, you know, you can buy them, go to Target in their dollar aisle and just get a bunch of these tiny little bitty notebooks, because I want it to be extremely detailed down to exactly what they drank with every meal, every single snack. Details, you know. If it's just real rushed, they didn't put the effort out, and that's making me think it's more the patient's fault. I want to see details, every single snack, everything they ate, drank, everything, for at least 1 week, if not 2 weeks. 1 week should be fine though. They bring it back in, they come in for a week later, and we're gonna audit that journal and find things. So for example, if they say tacos, I'm gonna ask, what type of tacos was it? Was it soft taco? Was it crunchy taco? Was it Doritos Locos Taco? You know, okay, show me how you ate it. And I'm not gonna prep the patient first because I'm gonna ask questions, you know, tell me about it. I just picked it up a bit into it. Nah, can't do that, you know? So I ate Flaming Hot Cheetos, etc. I ate pizza, okay. What type of pizza? Okay, did you eat the crust? How did you eat the crust? So buttons for Invisalign work just like brackets. Same rules apply. So then you're gonna need to go get your food list. We have the food list in our store if you want a copy of our food list. It's free for anyone who's a concierge or VIP member, part of all of our documents. They're totally free. So yeah, so you're gonna have to work on eating, how to eat foods, things like that. What else? So that's diet. Other thing could be bite, of course. Check with articulating paper. Are they biting on the bracket? If they're biting on the bracket, are they biting on the, the button? Are they biting on the button only when the aligner's out or with the aligners in? If they're only biting on it with the aligners out, then my suggestion is to take the treatment plan and slow it down by 2 or 3 times. So if it's a 20, you make it a 60. If it's a 30, you make it a 90. And then they do 2 to 3 day changes. You can do warranty fit or just a refinement on that. Yes, you'll probably have to take a new impression or scan, but that way they can eat with the aligners in, because it gets nasty. You can't do 1 week or 2 week changes and eat with your aligners in. That's absolutely disgusting. But if you're doing 3 day changes, you can eat with your aligners in. Of course, they're gonna wanna still take them out after they eat, but just don't bite down, right? When they're brushing, and then pop them back in. First of all, that's gonna make the case go crazy faster anyways, and it's one of my cool hacks that I do all the time. But that's a bite. Very rarely are they biting on the bracket with the aligners in. It's usually when you take them out to eat. Okay, so that's an easy hack. Lastly, what size elastics? Now my default normally for button to button for elastics is gonna be 3/16 heavy, which is 6 to 6.5 ounces. But that's not always right for everyone. I can't tell you exactly what elastic size because you have to try them in. It's like a pair of shoes, right? So the normal ones I recommend keeping stocked in your office if you're using button to button and no slots. And of course, if you listen to me, you know that you should be doing that anyways. But I would stock 1/4 medium, 1/4 heavy, 3/16 medium, and 3/16 heavy. And you might want to stock 1/8 medium and heavy, but you'll use that pretty infrequently for Invisalign. Okay, so mostly just those 4. You can buy them from eBay. You can buy them. Invisalign store doesn't have them all. Any orthodontic company. The thing I like about eBay is that you can just get a few. You should probably have a few sample packs for trying in. Because you want to try in certain elastics to find the right size. So the goal is to find the smallest diameter elastic that the patient can comfortably take on and take off themselves without a hook, without stress, and still talk, yawn and do things. So again, you're gonna have to ask more questions about this. If it's more than 24 hours, you wanna know, when did it fall off? Did it fall off after you ate? Did it fall off after you yawned? I wouldn't even prompt the patient because I feel like sometimes they're hesitant to say something because they think they're gonna get charged. So you have to let them know it's just for detective purposes. You want to know more. Sometimes it loosens it and it cracks the bond and it comes off later at night. So if they say, oh, it came off at night, well, that doesn't mean anything to me. So most likely either you're using an inappropriate size or an inappropriate strength or an inappropriate diameter for that patient. You have to try it in, right? And sometimes if they're on the border and they're like, yeah, I can get this 3/16 heavy in, but when I laugh or talk, the bracket breaks, well, then you probably want to do 1/4. Or you can do the 3/16 at night when they're sleeping and the 1/4 during the day. I do that sometimes. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful. Put on your detective hat, find the mystery of the broken button and fix it. And this is stuff that it happens even in ortho offices. We get breakage all the time, but we just are pretty good at figuring out what happened. But most common issues are usually one of these 3 if it's more than 24 hours. And like I said, some of it is just the doctor messed up and picked the wrong size. Some of it, you didn't notice that they were biting on the bracket when they took the aligners out. And maybe you need to slow down the treatment plan so they can leave the aligners in. Otherwise, they're just going to have to eat a soft diet until it shifts around. And of course, diet is the patient, but unless you instructed the patient on what they should eat and not eat, that's your fault. So, all right, thanks so much. Sorry to be blunt.